I walked into my new Australian office on my first day, and within 10 minutes, my colleagues told me I looked like a Ken doll that escaped from a toy store. They said my smile was so white it could blind people, and my shoes looked like something their grandmother would wear. I thought I was being bullied. I spent 3 months wanting to quit every single day. Then I discovered the truth, and it changed everything I thought I knew about acceptance. Meanwhile, my friend Jessica spent 2 years being subtly tortured by her German boyfriend's family, only to learn at a family dinner that every uncomfortable moment, every strange test, every awkward situation was completely intentional. They were testing her, and she had no idea. My name is Brad, and I moved from California to Sydney for a marketing job. I was excited, confident, and completely unprepared for what happened next. On my first morning, I walked into the office wearing my best suit, carrying a coffee, ready to make a great impression. My new colleague Mike looked at me and said, "Mate, you look like you're about to sell me insurance I don't need." Everyone laughed. I forced a smile, thinking it was just first-day jokes. It got worse. Within the first week, they gave me a nickname, Hollywood. Not because I was glamorous, but because they said I acted like every interaction was an audition. When I introduced myself enthusiastically in meetings, they mimicked my American accent behind my back. I could hear them. When I complimented someone's presentation, they said, "Calm down, Hollywood. It's just a PowerPoint, not the Oscars." I felt humiliated every single day. By week 2, I dreaded going to work. My Australian colleagues made fun of everything. My coffee order was too complicated. My enthusiasm was exhausting. My teeth were unnaturally white. One guy named Davo told me I smiled like a serial killer trying to appear friendly. Another colleague said, "Americans talk like we're narrating our own lives." I started documenting everything, planning to report them to HR for creating a hostile work environment. The mockery never stopped. They called my car a yank tank, even though it was just a normal sedan. They said I dressed like I was going to church, even when I wore casual clothes. When I brought lunch from home, they asked if my mom packed it for me. I was 32 years old, and they treated me like a joke. Every morning, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, building up the courage to walk inside. I tried talking to my manager, a woman named Sharon. I explained that I felt targeted and disrespected. She looked confused and said, "But they invited you to the pub last Friday, didn't they?" I said yes, but that didn't excuse the daily harassment. She told me to give it more time and try to understand Australian workplace culture. I thought that was code for deal with it yourself. I felt completely alone. Month 2 was worse. Month 2. They started calling me Seppo, which I later learned was rhyming slang for yank. Every time I spoke in meetings, someone would say, "Here we go, Hollywood's got opinions." When I tried to be quiet and blend in, they asked if I was sulking. I couldn't win. I ate lunch alone at my desk, avoiding the break room where they gathered to laugh at things I didn't understand. I was miserable. I made one attempt to fit in by trying to banter back. When Mike made fun of my shirt, I said his haircut looked like he lost a bet. The room went silent. Then everyone burst out laughing, and Mike said, "Not bad, Hollywood, but you need to work on your delivery." I thought maybe things were improving, but the next day, the mockery continued exactly as before. I gave up trying. By month 3, I was applying for jobs back in California. I couldn't take it anymore. Every day felt like surviving high school bullies. I typed up my resignation letter, planning to submit it on Friday. I was done with Australia, done with this toxic workplace, done with pretending I was okay. That Thursday night, everything changed. Jessica met Stefan at a conference in New York. He was charming, intelligent, and refreshingly direct compared to American guys she dated. They fell in love quickly, and within 6 months, she was flying to Germany to meet his family. She was nervous, but excited. Stefan assured her his family would love her. He was wrong, or so she thought. The first dinner at Stefan's family home in Munich was strange. His mother, Petra, served Jessica a plate of traditional German food, then watched her eat like a scientist observing an experiment. When Jessica politely tried everything and complimented the meal, Petra just nodded without smiling. Stefan's father, Klaus, spent the evening asking Jessica uncomfortable questions about American politics, gun violence, and healthcare. Every answer she gave seemed to disappoint him. His sister Anna barely spoke to her but kept staring at her clothes and shoes with obvious judgment. Jessica thought it was just first meeting awkwardness. But visit after visit, the pattern continued. Petra would serve increasingly challenging German dishes, soups with unusual textures, meats Jessica couldn't identify, fermented vegetables that smelled disturbing. She forced herself to eat everything without complaining, thinking it was a respect thing. Klaus's questions got more pointed. He asked why Americans were so ignorant about geography, why they dominated every conversation, why they smiled at strangers like robots. Jessica tried to defend her country while staying polite. It was exhausting. Anna, Stefan's sister, started making cutting comments. She said Jessica's makeup was too dramatic for daytime. She said American women dressed like they were constantly trying to impress men. She questioned why Jessica changed her tone of voice when answering the phone, something Jessica didn't even realize she did. Every visit felt like an interrogation disguised as family time. Jessica told Stefan she felt unwelcome. He kept saying, "They're just German. They're direct. Don't take it personally." By the end of year one, Jessica dreaded trips to Germany. Petra once served her liver, which Jessica hated, and watched her struggle through it without offering an alternative. Klaus debated her about American foreign policy for 2 hours, never conceding a single point. Anna critiqued the way Jessica held her fork and knife, saying Americans eat like children. Jessica started crying in the bathroom during one visit. Stefan found her and promised things would get better, but he offered no explanation for his family's behavior. Year two brought new tests. Petra invited Jessica to help cook dinner, then criticized every technique she used. Klaus asked Jessica what she knew about German history, then spent an hour explaining why her knowledge was superficial and insulting. Anna compared Jessica to Stefan's ex-girlfriend, saying the ex-girlfriend was more elegant and cultured. Jessica was furious. She told Stefan she couldn't keep doing this. He begged her to trust him and attend one more family dinner. Reluctantly, she agreed. The visits became more elaborate. Petra would speak only German at meals, forcing Jessica to struggle through conversations with her limited vocabulary. Klaus tested her knowledge of European geography, then acted disappointed when she couldn't name every German state. Anna questioned why Jessica planned to keep working after marriage instead of focusing on family. Jessica felt judged, inadequate, and increasingly resentful. She loved Stefan, but she hated his family. She started making excuses to avoid visiting Germany. Stefan seemed oblivious to how much his family upset Jessica. He'd laugh at their comments, saying they were just joking or being typically German. Jessica felt gaslit. These weren't jokes. These were calculated insults designed to make her feel inferior. After one particularly brutal dinner, where Klaus questioned whether Americans had any culture beyond consumerism, Jessica told Stefan she was done. She wouldn't visit his family anymore. Stefan looked panicked and said he needed to tell her something important. That Thursday night in Sydney, Mike and Davo dragged me to the pub after work. I didn't want to go, but they insisted. After a few beers, Mike looked at me seriously and said, "Mate, Sharon told us you're planning to quit." I was stunned. I hadn't told anyone except Sharon. Mike continued, "You can't leave. We just started actually liking you." I was confused. I said, "You've spent 3 months destroying my self-esteem daily." Davo laughed and said, "Yeah, because you're one of us now." They explained Australian workplace culture in a way that changed everything. In Australia, harsh teasing and mockery are signs of acceptance and affection. If Australians don't like you, they're polite, distant, and professionally cold. They'll say things like "good job" and "have a nice day" without meaning any of it. But if they like you, they roast you mercilessly. The mockery means they're comfortable with you. It means you're part of the team. It means they trust you enough to be real instead of fake nice. Mike said, "When we called you Hollywood, it wasn't an insult. It was your name. You're one of the boys now." Davo added, "If we didn't like you, we'd just ignore you or be polite until you quit on your own. The fact that we give you this much attention means we respect you." I sat there, stunned. 3 months of daily torture that I interpreted as bullying was actually the Australian version of friendship. I'd been miserable over a compliment. They kept explaining. The nickname, the accent mockery, the jokes about my clothes, everything was affection disguised as aggression. Australian men don't express care through compliments or encouragement. They express it through relentless mockery. If they didn't care about you, they wouldn't bother. The effort they put into making fun of me was evidence of how much they valued me as a colleague. I felt like an idiot for misunderstanding so completely. Mike said something that stuck with me. Americans smile and say everything's great when it's not. We insult each other and actually mean we care. Your way seems fake to us. Our way seems cruel to you. Neither is wrong, just different. I realized he was right. I'd been expecting American-style validation, constant positivity, enthusiasm, and encouragement. They were offering Australian-style acceptance, brutal honesty, tough love, and genuine connection. I just couldn't see it. Meanwhile, Jessica sat across from Stefan in their New York apartment as he finally explained his family's behavior. He said, "My family has a tradition. When I bring someone home, they test her. It's not cruel, it's protective. They need to know you're strong enough, patient enough, and committed enough before they fully accept you." Jessica was speechless. 2 years of feeling inadequate, judged, and unwelcome were intentional tests. Stefan continued. Every uncomfortable meal my mother served was testing if you'd complain or be polite. Every political debate with my father was testing if you'd defend your beliefs or just agree to be liked. Every criticism from my sister was testing if you'd break or stand firm. Jessica felt angry and relieved simultaneously. Angry that no one told her, relieved that it wasn't personal hatred. Stefan said, "You passed every test. My family called me last week and said you're approved. They want to have a proper family dinner where they finally welcome you." At that dinner in Munich, everything changed. Petra hugged Jessica warmly and said, "You're stronger than Stefan's last 3 girlfriends combined. Welcome to the family." Klaus shook her hand and said, "You defended your country without being defensive. That takes intelligence and confidence." Anna smiled genuinely for the first time and said, "I was so hard on you because I wanted to make sure you were good enough for my brother." "You are." Jessica asked why they couldn't just be nice from the beginning. Petra said, "Nice is easy. Anyone can be nice for a few visits. We needed to see who you are under pressure, when things are uncomfortable, when you're being challenged. Now we know you're real." It was a German tradition, testing potential family members to ensure they had strength, character, and commitment. Jessica finally understood. She'd been judged not by her perfection, but by her persistence. Back in Sydney, I ripped up my resignation letter. The next Monday, when Davo made fun of my coffee order, I fired back that his haircut looked like a drunk barber's revenge. Everyone laughed, including Davo. I finally understood the game. The mockery continued, but now I knew what it meant. It meant I belonged. It meant I was valued. It meant I was home. Both stories taught me the same lesson. Acceptance looks different in different cultures. Americans show acceptance through enthusiasm, positivity, and constant validation. Australians show it through relentless mockery and tough love. Germans show it through brutal testing and eventual approval. None are wrong. They're just different languages of belonging. I almost quit my job because I couldn't read the signs. Jessica almost left the love of her life for the same reason. We were looking for American-style acceptance, in places where acceptance spoke a different language. Understanding that difference changed everything.